Hello, everybody. Welcome to Into the Score. My name is Avishai Darash. I'm your host for this podcast. As always, it's good to see you there looking at us. You know how it is in Into the Score. We talk about such interesting topics about everything, entrepreneurship, arts and culture, and everything that comes in between. And today I have with me Gwen Langenberg.
Hello.
How's it going? Good?
Good, good.
Nice.
Sun is shining, happy.
Well, let's see when this episode gets aired. Maybe it's not shining. So you don't know. So you don't
Okay.
know. In the Netherlands, you never know. You never know. So Gwen, take me from the beginning. I want to know about your path. I want to know from the beginning to the moment that brought you here.
Oh, wow. My path as a dancer,
As a human.
as a human. I'm born in the Netherlands and in Limburg.
In Limburg.
In Limburg.
Oh, wow. I don't hear it even.
South of Holland. And and do you want to know my professional path or just as a human?
I wanna
Because
know-
it's
I want to know everything. I want to know what makes you tick. Yeah. Why you're the way you are.
Oh, wow. That's an interesting question. Well, actually, I know that since I'm 3 years old, I got this really nice ballet suit and ballet shoes from my dad. And I remember that point very well, is that, wow, dance. So dancing is really something I know already from 3 years old. I want to
Wow.
dance. And that developed in my life, actually. I started to do ballet classes, and then I wanted to become first a helicopter pilot, and then
Wait, ballet dancer and
ballet
helicopter
dancer,
pilot.
and then I thought like, okay,
It's like
well,
Tom Cruise. Yeah.
yeah, I want to do everything. It was very sporty, but yeah, dance became really, really the red line.
The red line that kind of
Yeah.
pushed you, also pushed your path. Did it have a direct effect on you becoming a therapist later, or?
Wow, no. Well, when I was on the dance academy, I had a lot of injuries because I'm quite flexible. And I thought I have to do something extra next to dance and training.
Right.
And I came into the yoga world. And in the yoga world, I also became a teacher. And at one point when I was teaching, also a lot of people start to talk to you. And with yoga, you can also go a bit deeper. And then I was like, okay. And I had also a crisis in my life. So I was like, okay, let's explore me. What is happening? What are my patterns? Why am I here? What am I doing?
How old
And
were you back then? I mean, we're kind of jumping, but
yeah, I'm like, whoa.
yeah.
Back
What
then,
did you eat today? You know, that type of stuff. yeah.
nothing yet.
Okay, nothing yet. Look at you,
No.
healthy. Yeah.
No.
Well, maybe.
Where did what start?
You said you had a crisis, and then that kind of led you.
Yeah, it was
into-
actually relational my relationship broke, and at that point I think I was 36. I was like, okay, I notice a pattern in me, but I cannot figure out what it is. And then I went to therapy, and I thought, wow, this is interesting. I also would like to dive deeper into it.
And that was the first time that you actively went to therapy when you were
Yeah.
36?
Yeah.
Okay, wow.
Yeah. That was the first moment I'm like, okay, maybe I should give it a try. And I rolled first into, I thought, okay, I want to do this as well. Coaching and counseling. I did that for 3 years. And then I started to become acquainted with Brainspotting. And that really it blew me away. It's like,
And
kind of-
Brainspotting, for people that don't know what it is, can you
wow,
explain
yeah,
it?
in a nutshell, it is, how you say, the eyes, they correlate with the brain, and actually trauma in the brain gets really stuck. And if people have trauma, then with a brain spot, so with eye correlation, you can bring movement in that stuck trauma. It's a bit like EMDR, but then very different. So it's with I descent, descent, wow, that's a that's a hard
Say it
word.
in Dutch.
EMDR.
EMDR.
EMDR. But with the eye movement, or with a point where you're looking at, then your brain starts to go to that area where trauma is stuck, and then your brain and body starts to regulate. It's not a I would say cognitive behavioral therapy, so you really have to trust the process of body and brain.
And does it happen with patients that when they access that place, they get flooded with memories? Or is it
It
more a
can.
physical thing?
It's everything can happen.
Everything
It's
happens.
quite phenomenal. David Grant, who came up with Brainspotting, he says it's a phenomenal therapy. So as a therapist, we don't steer the person. I would say steer, guide the person.
Yeah.
Like you have to go there and there, you
Yeah.
have to stop there. But we let the process happen, the regulation of brain and body. Very beautiful. And sometimes images come up, sometimes the body starts to shake. So it's actually the memory of the body and the brain. It's also a different part of the brain which gets, you connect to a different part of the
Yeah.
brain.
Yeah,
Fight, flight, freeze.
exactly.
And that's not connected to
To the prefrontal
memory.
cortex.
Yes, to the
Okay.
prefrontal cortex.
Okay, so it's actually like the back, the more
Yes.
reptilian.
Yeah. Yes.
Like, okay,
More
yeah.
reptilian brain.
The stum.
And for some people, they start to shake. There are a lot of reflexes. Some people get very emotional, no idea why.
Yeah.
Some people get images. So it really goes very fast.
Yeah. Because I feel, okay, so you're 36, you're having your first therapy session. Was it brain spotting or was it something else?
No, it was regression.
Regression.
Yeah.
Oh my God, so all the ballet classes probably came up.
Not even the ballet classes, but actually things from my youth, because
Yeah.
it starts when you're small.
Yeah.
So regression therapy, yeah. And then I did haptonomie. So it was I was searching for what really fits me.
Yeah.
And yeah, then I started to do the coaching education,
Yeah.
which you also have to go through it yourself. And then after that came Brainspotting. And Brainspotting was a really wonderful, I would say, physically opener for me.
And that was like a part of your curriculum, or again, it's something you stumbled on? I'm talking about brain spotting in particular.
At the moment that I...
How did you get introduced to specifically brain
yeah,
spotting?
I had a colleague at the coaching, and she was a psychologist, and she said, Gwen, I met someone and she does brain spotting, and I think it's really also would be great for you, because it's so, trust the process of body and mind. And I like, okay, let's give it a go. And immediately, I have this. I always had, yes, this feels right.
Like connected to the center.
Intuitively, this is really what I like very much. And then I thought, let's give it a go. So I did phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. So already for 13 years now, I dove into it and treating people with it. And it's my favorite intervention.
Yeah. And because I want to get more, I want to go back. More back, like we were already. Okay, take me to this moment.
Yeah, like,
that's it. Okay,
well.
Thank you. It was a great podcast. Thank you, everybody. No, but what I wanted to ask is, I want to actually be more from the beginning. When you said you were 3 years old, you got a ballet, you got a tutu, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Like a little
Pink.
With a pink with.
Hey.
And then, were your parents? They realized that this is something that you want to do seriously, and did they support it? Did they send you to classes immediately, or did it come from you?
Well, as a 3-year-old, of course, you cannot say, but they always supported me in my very energetic. I'm a very physical, very energetic child. So when I used to ask, I want to go on gymnastic, they say go.
Okay,
I
cool.
want to do dance class, go. So they were always very supportive. My parents are divorced since I'm 2, but both sides, I say I have 4 parents, both sides really supported me till now.
Yeah.
And that's it's very nice if you are stepping into the art world,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
trying to develop that passion in your heart, then it's very nice
Yeah,
that
it's
at least you get this, go, do it.
exactly, because it's also a very vulnerable state to be in, in my opinion, to go to the arts as a child, as a kid. And parents have an imperative responsibility to support the kid, because
Yes.
it's the outside world is not that supportive of this type of path.
No.
And if
Oh.
the parents are giving that type of let's say security blanket in that sense, it can just help in tough situations, to understand why you're doing what you're doing. So you, how old were you when you started ballet classes?
That I think was a bit later because I was living in a village in Simpelveld, Limburg.
Simpelveld, it's
Yes,
called.
Simpelveld.
Wow.
And so actually my first, say, 11 years, I just had to do with the village gymnastic club and the jazz ballet club, and I loved it. And we had some performances, and Onyazu, I still remember. But then at one point I became very serious. I said I would like to go to preschool, I say, de vooropleiding. But then I lived
Preparatory, yeah.
preparatory, yeah.
Yeah, preparatory.
But then my mom, I was living with my mom. She said, "Well, you got such a good brain as well. I don't want you to go to
Football, what?
no, I don't want you to go to the vooropleiding. Sorry, how you? I would.
Preparatory, sorry,
Yes,
yeah.
I would like for you to finish your ateneum, so that if it doesn't work out, you still have your brain and you can go to study on university."
That's a good
And
advice.
actually, I'm like, because I want to do ballet. But then she said, go to a good school in Heerlen. And it was, how you call it now? Wow, my brain has to wake up in English.
It's the lights, yeah, and the cameras.
The amateur. So it was an amateur ballet school, but it was a really good one. So I was allowed to go 3-4 times a week after school. I just was
Oh, cool. Wow.
in ballet class, modern classes, jazz ballet. But I was really determined.
Yeah.
Really determined to go and do audition.
And the vooropleiding, like the preparatory, that starts around 15, 16?
No, it
Something?
starts around 11, 12.
Oh, 11, 12.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So high school, and they were like, no, we wouldn't like you to go. At that time, it was only MAVO, and yeah, they say, well, if you don't succeed,
yeah.
it's a pity. Then at least you can go study
something.
work on your
yeah. So not put all the eggs in one basket, all of it.
Yes, plan B.
Yeah, plan B, to have a plan B. do you think that actually, would you do it differently if you could? Would you just put everything there, or
No, afterward, I'm really happy
that they
that they said it, because yeah, I noticed after, so I did my therapy study, that I'm also quite a nerd, and I actually like studying.
Yeah.
At one point, it's really nice to let your brain work.
Yeah.
So I'm happy. I'm happy the way it went. So if I go back, it would be great to do it exactly the same.
And when you say like the vooropleiding, when you start between 10 and 11 or 11, 12.
11, 12, I think. Danscentrum Heerlen.
So you're basically being placed in a class also with older kids, or everybody's the same age?
No, this was really amateur school, and so yeah, also had like you have the beginner, the intermediate, and advanced in amateur school. So I started with beginner, but very soon they said, okay, go a level up.
Yeah.
And the group is quite mixed, from young till old. And then you have a modern class and ballet class and contemporary.
And how long did you do that?
Yeah, I think till I was 18, so I could do audition.
And then the audition came to do for the school, or already for a company?
For the AHK, so
Yeah. Amsterdam
the dance
Hogeschool.
academies
Yeah.
in Rotterdam,
Yeah.
Amsterdam, and it was exciting time actually.
And you went to the one in Amsterdam here?
AHK, yeah,
Jorn
yeah,
Breestraat.
the
Okay. Yeah,
Jodebree-straat.
yeah. And how was that?
The 4 years of
I mean, the first day. The first day. When you get there, the first day, you're in Amsterdam. I guess
well,
you're coming from Heerlen, right? So it's...
yes, wow, you mentioned. Well, actually, the audition was already quite interesting because it's such a different environment. Amsterdam is it has a different energy than Limburg.
Mm.
And it's quite, yeah, there, the life of, how do you say it? Beoordeeld.
It's like it's very prejudiced. It's very...
Well, you're always getting watched. You always have to prove.
yeah.
And that, it's also, the first day at school is like, okay, put on your belly suit and let's train. Train to be better and better.
Mm.
Train to perfect yourself. Discipline. Build up stamina. So it was a beautiful time, but also quite
Demanding and hard.
Very demanding.
Yeah.
And it's always like, you can do better, you can do better. And you're like hours and hours in front of the mirror, perfecting yourself. Next to it's also your heart and your passion. So there's everything.
And race dynamics
together.
also. Like
Sorry?
race dynamics, I guess, also. In the sense of competitiveness within the group. Did you have it also?
Oh, no, I had a fantastic group, but
Oh, that's good.
competitive, yeah, it's always there.
Yeah.
Especially in the dance scene. I don't know how it is in the music scene.
Oh,
But
they're all vultures. Yeah.
well, I'm being very kind. But yes,
I'm
there
kidding,
were
relax.
some vultures in...
There are vultures everywhere.
Yeah, yeah. So
But-
it was me as a Limburg girl, coming from a village. It was like a bam. Wow, I have to adapt. I have to adapt to the hard
Right.
world.
The tempo of the city.
Very direct.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, what's happening?
Because I can imagine, I'm assuming, of course, that if in Heerlen, it's like, okay, yeah, you did good. Like, yeah, let's try it again. And there it's like,
Better,
you can do better.
better,
Yes. The enemy
Yeah.
of the good is the better.
Yes.
That type of stuff, yeah.
better.
Yeah.
How do you look? How do you move? How do you talk? Because we also had singing classes. Everything had to be,
It's
it
to
was
create a performer.
create a performer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And I have my ideas about it. If I look back, I'm like, wow, why did it have to be so demanding?
Why is it actually? Why? Why do you think the reason is?
On the other hand, I think you need to learn how to train and discipline and focus
Mhm.
to get everything out of you.
Mm.
Still, I didn't figure it out yet.
Mm.
Because I do think the dance academy, those 4 years, really brought me a lot, but also I got very stuck in my identity and who I am and the way I looked. The moment I stepped out of dance academy, I was like, wow, freedom. And then I could experience, but what fits me? I don't have to wear this. I don't have to do it according what they think is good. I have to feel what is good for me.
Yeah.
And that really opened my world
Yeah.
as a dancer. I was like, okay, here I am. This is Gwen. I went to London.
And you're around 22 in that time, right?
Yes, 20.
20. Okay.
20. No, around 20.
Because the opleiding, the
4
training is
years.
4 years. So you got in when you
So
were
the
18,
fourth
right?
year, I did a stage at West Side Story from Joop van
Nice.
de Ende. So I was 8 months.
Lion King.
No, only West Side Story.
Ah, okay. Sorry.
And and after that, I was like, no, musical's not for me.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to dance. Like dance.
It wasn't for you because of the commercial aspect of it, or because
Yeah,
of
it-
like
it
the
was-
reproduction, the constant.
It was a feeling, but I was like, oh, this is not really my world, and I would like to be more contemporary.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that because I got a chance to kind of work with both worlds. I spoke about in the podcast in the past, but I worked with Iseka,
Yeah,
with
me
Peter,
too.
with Peter and Emio, and then I worked also with musical makers with Job van den Ende. Like I saw the two worlds of musical people
And
and the dancers. It's very different.
it's totally
Like
different.
the what I got at least from the musical, it's like it's very bubbly, you know. Everything is like, hey, how's it going? Everything's fine. And with the dancers, it's like, what do you want? You know,
It's coming from the deep.
it's like, let's party so I can forget everything. And there it's like, let's party.
Well, there you go. Yeah, yeah, and that's
So
it's a huge difference. And actually,
I no laughing, huh?
it was a fantastic opportunity. I also had I was Graciela, the girlfriend of Riff, but yeah, the mentality, it was, there were some vultures also.
Of course.
Wow.
Oh, you look so good.
And that
And
world,
it's like
yeah,
stabbing you in
even,
the
yeah, so I felt a bit like, because I was more the,
Yeah.
let me party and forget and feel from the inside. And that's like, bah, yeah.
So cool.
But it was fantastic because, you know, your voice gets trained every day. You have to be on stage every day, perform, you know,
Right.
6 days a week. Bam! And it was a traveling, traveling musical at that time. Yeah, it was very intense, but I knew, no, I want to really dance, really contemporary dance.
Contemporary.
Yeah.
Yeah. And does it come in correlation also because you had did you have very strict ballet training in that sense in Jodenbreestraat?
No,
or
because I did the jazz and show
in the
musical.
jazz and show? Okay.
Yeah, but there was also always classical training, but just once a day.
And going to the ballet wasn't like ballet and opera on
No,
on the
it was
Batula?
also
No,
there.
but I'm saying like it wasn't an option for you. You said no, I don't want to.
No,
No.
no, no.
Yeah.
I was not the type to be a ballerina, or no, I don't even have the body type for it. And it was also not my wish to become a ballerina.
Yeah.
No.
Man, I remember I remember something when we were rehearsing in France with that piece that we were doing with Iseka, and the choreographer kind of changed one of the girls to be more in the front and one was more in the back, and she got devastated by this. And as someone from the outside, I'm just responding to what you're saying. It's like your body just didn't fit being in the front. She was this tiny girl, and the other one was big, and she could just move and get all the attention. And for her, it broke her.
Yeah.
The tiny girl, it broke her. She left the company, and it was like this.
Yeah, it can be quite devastating
Yeah,
sometimes.
and then I think, wow, this is, we would see it from the outside as musicians. Like, this will never happen with us. What do you mean you replace me because I'm too tall? You replace me what?
Yeah.
Like, it's
Yeah,
like
it is,
your added value is different as a musician than a dancer, right? In that sense, like you.
Well, for you, 10,000 others, especially also. But this is an interesting one. It can be so painful.
Yeah.
Because as a dancer, where if there's a group piece, where am I positioned?
Wow.
How can everybody see me, or am I a bit more to the back? What is my contribution? Yeah, it's very strange.
Is there any psychological support given to dancers, or it's just like zoek het maar out?
In my time, zoek het maar uit.
Yeah, zoek het maar means like go figure out yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. So also during the dance academy, it was not, mentally I was quite struggling actually.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
And I talked about it with my colleagues who are still dancing now. Like, wow, the mental support should have been much. Yeah, it should have been much bigger.
Yeah,
because it wasn't there. Yeah, okay, we had a dietist, because also, yeah, you want to be thin, fit, and you know, there are quite some eating
I was just
eating
about to ask it. Yeah.
problems. Yes.
It's like the toilet is probably like,
Yeah.
ooh,
Which
in the Jodenbreestraat is like,
but also mental
yeah, yeah.
mental problems. Yes. So
So
I
that's what
don't
I'm
want to
saying. Like
dive
the
into
mental.
it too deep.
No, no,
But
no. Dive. We need clicks. No, but no, I'm asking because it's like a common thing. For instance, there was a dancer that I'm following that she danced for Batsheva, and you know, with Oad Naharim,
wonderful.
and she completely became bulimic, anorexic, and then she changed her path. She converted her path to actually helping treating people with eating disorders, and she shows her videos. It's absolutely horrific how she looked, and the body dysmorphia, the feeling of I can lose more weight, I need this. It's because someone came to her when she was 6 years old, when she was having ballet classes, grabbed her belly and said, "It's not going to work in the ballet. You need to get rid of it." And then from that moment on, she found herself with basically personality disorders, one after the other, trying to compensate that.
Yeah, I also have my scar with eating disorder, and I didn't have anorexia, but I was more bulimic.
Yeah.
So people from the outside don't see it actually, but it's really a mental struggle. I at the moment also have quite a few clients with
I can imagine, yeah.
eating problems.
Yeah.
So I do understand it's not only because I've heard a lot of times, hey, you have to lose weight to fit in this costume, you know. Afterwards I think, why do you give me this costume then?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a better question
but
than
eating disorder already starts actually, you know, it gets triggered in, especially if you have to become perfect or become perfect from the outside, but it also starts already earlier.
Yeah.
And, you know, becoming a dancer or being so focused on being perfect, it's a perfect place for getting these mental struggles.
Yeah, of
because
course.
eating disorder is a mental struggle.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's also this thing of you will never be good enough.
There you go.
And
that
when it starts there,
really way earlier than and then on a dance academy or, you know, in a dance career, because it's also trained. It's never good enough. Or as an artist, you can do better. And in dance also, you can look better, you can train better. Even in a performance, you can do better. Every time you can do better. And that's like, they go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Because you also have a very strong, you know, determination. Like, I can...
Exactly. And it's that validation of the choreographer is going to finally give me that validation with the group. Does it also...
Yeah, but if you get the validation, it doesn't even... You don't even hear the validation anymore, because it's already so far.
This is such a great podcast, too. If your girl wants to go into ballet, it's just...
But on the because there's
on the positive aspect,
the positive aspect.
No, I want to. Actually, I'm sorry. I'm being like cynical, but it's actually I do want to hear more about it, because that, correct me if I'm wrong, that got you into treatment, also into treating people.
No, actually, the crisis in a relationship got me to look at myself. So I noticed some patterns in me. And from there, if you go into therapy, you know, you have to go deep.
Yeah.
And for me, there was quite a lot of, I say, unknown blind spots in me. So I also got to figure out why actually my bulimia was there. I'm not gonna say that in the podcast, but I had to go step by step back. Crisis. How am I in a relationship with other people? What is my controlling part? Oh, what does this controlling part in me want? And then you go back to, the controlling part is being, you know, you practice with your controlling part. That's why I am doing, you know, I'm still in the dance and I still can, you know, I want this. I want to control this. I want to control my body. I want to control every part of me, and I can do it.
Yeah.
It's really crazy balance. Like I can also do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And is it a pursuit that you want to turn into a fact, or is it still elusive in the sense of, can I control it, can I not? Or does it turn into a fact at some point you can move on?
Oh, I have to
You have to think about it.
digest that question. It is very unconscious,
Mm-hmm.
but on top of it, of course, in the art world, it's, at one point you're there and you're like, I can do this. Yeah, it's there. I can control it,
Yeah.
and it's quite hard, but
Yeah.
that's the way it is. So the part which is still feeling this, how you say this, still feels the softness or the fear or the I'm not good enough. That's pushed in the corner somewhere in the big toe, and you're like, let's do this.
Let's fucking go. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, let's fucking go.
Exactly.
Let's go higher.
Let's go.
Oh, it hurts, but let's go up to the top.
And then does it have a tipping point where it's like, let's go harder, let's go harder, let's go harder, and then it's like, whoa.
At one point, for me, the tipping point is always my body says, hello, stop.
Yeah.
So injuries, becoming more sick, or...
Yeah, that's what I was about to ask you, because in the beginning of the podcast, you said that you're very flexible, and then you started experiencing injuries, and that kind of brought you into... Yoga, exactly.
Yeah.
Because yoga also speaks about the different types of bodies, how it gets locked in the body, trauma gets locked in the body through asana practice. Exactly. Through asana practice and pranayama, we can release it through the 4 different bodies. And was it something that it was easy for you also to incorporate as a dancer, to go into the whole asana practice, philosophy?
For me, it was a savior. So when I came into in the yoga studio, a younger yoga studio, it's quite also quite. But I came.
You did it here in Amsterdam?
Yeah.
With Asaf or with
Clay Soeren? No, Asaf and me did together.
Asaf, yeah, exactly.
We did together the education way back.
Yeah.
So when I was 19, I stepped on the yoga mat, and then I felt the difference between dance is also. I say it's more the form and the shape you work yourself into, but it's more outgoing, because you have to show yourself at one point to the audience. And yoga became my internal world. So it became more, dance was for me, wow, borderless, and my body borderless. And in yoga, I had to learn to create borders. So my body... Also, it was more healthy for my body.
Yeah, it's not performative. That's the thing.
This was for me, and then I could experience. Whoa, this is all these asanas. I have to, I was great in all those crazy asanas.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure.
But now at the moment, also for me, yoga is more going back to the base and study what is the base and how can I become softer. How can I breathe more? How can I create more space for every part inside of me instead of one part who has to show?
Yeah. Yeah. I was talking about it with my yoga teacher about the placing of mirrors in yoga studios, which is very interesting. It's the opposite. It's performative. I remember when I went to do a Bikram for the first time.
Yeah, I had to think of Bikram as well.
I was like, what is going on here?
I had the same.
I was like, why are people like this? Why are you like this? It's like, man, I was in the army. I don't want to do it again. It's like 26 asanas. And it's like, okay, next. And you have this like hierarchy between everybody. And if you're just a beginner, they put you in the back and you have this mirror and and you're like, man, I suck. I can't touch anything. And you have this like pregnant woman that just puts her leg behind her head like this.
Yeah, that was me.
Exactly. And then you just think.
But did you see the documentary of Bikram?
Yeah, he's a rapist. Yeah. But
wow, so it is quite interesting for Bikram, now hot yoga, that it's still projected outwards.
Yeah.
For me, that's not yoga. Yoga
No.
is going inwards, so to feel all the layers. And I do understand that in hot yoga, you have this heat, and you also go inward because you have to somehow
Survival mode. Yeah.
survive,
Yeah.
and that's coming from within.
Yeah.
But the projection outwards, and especially to look in a mirror how the shape is,
Yeah.
or the asana is perfect, for me doesn't make sense,
Yeah.
because you have to feel the perfection of an asana on the inside.
Exactly. Exactly.
And for me, it was also like, ooh, those mirrors. But I have mirrors. Ooh,
Because you were just what you were saying about his film. It's like he was so busy with his Maseratis and so busy with having women around him. It's
ego.
just ego, just outside, 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 outside. He still teaches. He still gives
Wow.
a ton of workshops and makes a ton of money from it. He went to Mexico, and it's like,
Yeah.
the court of Netflix has doomed him in the sense of bringing out such a documentary. You're like, wow, you're just a predator.
Yeah, well, all the Bikram studios, it was really hot
They
and
changed.
famous. They all changed their
They
name.
changed.
They had to.
To
But it's
hot
still
flow
hot
or
yoga.
hot this,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
like Ikram or
Ikram. I didn't hear that.
Yes.
Ikram yoga. What does it mean?
just remove one letter and it's gonna be
Remove
fine.
one letter.
We're not
Yeah.
liable. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Interesting. For me, it was really, yoga was my savior and still is. I still meditate. I
Yeah.
still do yoga because it gives me the mental quietness. And then performing, which I also still love, is it's another part of my brain, and that's more out.
Mm,
So it's the Gwen going out and the Gwen going
going in. Yeah.
and how they connect together.
Yeah.
That's where I am at the moment.
Yeah, I remember. I think I spoke about with you also, Mudlon. I remember we have more people here in the
Yeah,
studio.
that's like,
by the way,
yeah.
like 50 people. It's like we're going towards a live show. Yeah. No, but I remember that there was one. I had a period in my life where I was practicing many hours a day, like meditation, and I started to get. And it's funny because my introduction to yoga was not asana; it was the philosophy.
Ah,
So it's like when I started to look
Raja
around,
yoga.
yeah, it was more. It was. It was hatha, and it was also the 8 limbs.
Ashtanga.
Ashtanga, yes. Oh my God, it was also Ashtanga. But because the 8 limbs, like asana, is coming 4th or 5th.
Third.
Yama, niyama, asana, pranayama.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So 3rd, and it's like I was focused with the yamas and the niyamas.
Niyamas,
Yeah, I
yeah.
was really focused on that with my teacher. I focused on meditation, and later came asana. And I remember that I had experiences where I would do these long meditations, and there is a part in me, and I think that also is prevalent or existing with everybody, that no one can touch. That it's just the purest form of yourself. And then you touch it and it's like, wow, I'm connected to everybody. Because everybody has that part. And we're speaking to that part with each other.
Yes, we're all connected.
But then all the stories come, and then it's like, who are you? What do you want? What do you want from me? It's like, oh, wow, I like you. It's all that egoic stuff that comes later. But
Yeah.
there's that pure form of ourselves, and no one can...
Essence.
Exactly, essence. That's
Yeah.
beyond your age, beyond your gender, beyond all that stuff. Beyond that.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful that you experienced
Yeah.
the connection with your essence.
Yeah, I mean, it's because the type of person that I am, I try to get into that again, and then you lose it comes usually when I experience that, it comes usually when I'm just letting really go, and I'm just surrendering to it. Because if I'm trying to grab it, then it's very elusive. It just gets,
Yeah.
it's like sand, you try to grab it, it's like, well, wow, it's gone.
Yeah.
You know?
It is very interesting because now connecting I live in different worlds, and now I try to connect them all. So I have my dance, theater, but creation. I had the yoga world. I teach yoga for, I think, 23 years.
Wow.
And I study it
Cool.
for a very long time, also yoga philosophy, but it was also a different world for me. And now therapy. And now they all come together because it's for me, therapy is also how can, it's not me, but how can, with a client together, um, have a movement towards the essence, because there's so many layers. If you get hurt when you're very, very young, or maybe even in the belly when your when your spine, is growing, you already get so much feeling and emotions. And when you get born, or as a little kid, you experience pain. There are layers. Call this harness, But the little kid is an essence. So how to at least touch the essence of your being, and which layers are around it. For me, it's also with yoga, all these koshas, the layers, and how to not force yourself through it, but it's by letting go, or by really trusting that process of, okay, what are the layers? Where do you have to, even an asana, what are the layers? How can you breathe, the pranayama, to come back to this deeper inner layer?
Yeah.
So for me, they are very much connected now. My yoga practice, yoga philosophy, and also therapy. I had a lot of...
It's like a common denominator that I'm hearing is actually service. You like to be of service.
I like to be of service, yes.
Yeah, because also when you dance, that's of service for the public and for the concept of the choreographer or maker. When you treat people, that's of service.
Yes.
When you do yoga, that's of service of your own path. And but to be
I
able to be of
always say,
service.
how can I be of service?
Yeah.
What is serving you the best at this moment? It's not me telling you, but let's practice together.
Why do you think actually that it's more common with yoga studios? I asked Sana about it also.
Oh, my dear friend Sana.
But it's I'm more asking about, why do you think that in the West, when you go to a studio, it says yoga studio, not asana studio? Because usually the majority is asana practice.
There are studios they combine the many steps of the Ashtanga. So that's why they call it yoga. It's not only... some studios are really asana. But there are also studios who have meditation, or who have pranayama classes, or who chant, so I do think that is yoga as well.
Yeah.
It's not only asana, but a lot of studios are asana, workout.
Yeah, that's what I mean, yeah. Why do you think that happens? Because
we're living in a fast lane.
Yeah, and you need to just quickly...
And in the West, I used to teach yoga classes for 1.5, 2 hours. It wasn't very normal. Now, people don't even... They're like 1.5 hours. Oh, my God. I'm like, then you only get warm. Then you can go into it. But now it's like 45 minutes before work. And then, okay, I did my practice. I feel nice, and go.
Yeah.
And actually, for me... I don't, but you have to go. You have to go along, right? The studio has to make money.
Yeah, exactly. You got to go with the curriculum.
1 hour classes. I'm like, okay.
You can just do like them, like jumping up and down, and just put Fox News, and they're like, oh.
But that's
then they're ready, They're ready for their day.
Jump.
Go.
Yes, yeah. I find that interesting. You cannot dive into the deep in yoga if you do a 1 hour class.
Yeah.
But
so you did
it's a start.
You did the 200, right? Hours, and then later on you expanded it?
I don't even think about 200 or 500 hours. Yeah. I did in Iyengar first 3 years, and that's introductory. So they're very strict in the Iyengar world. Like, okay, first you have to do 3 years of study, then you can teach basic poses.
Yeah.
And then 1 year you have your own practice, you teach, and then you go to intermediate junior 1. And we always get examined by teachers from Europe, senior teachers. And then, okay, you have your intermediate junior one, then you can do your intermediate junior two, but you have to have at least 1 year in between. Do your practice, learn different asanas, medical aspects of asana,
Wow.
pregnancy
Wow.
classes,
Wow.
and do your philosophy. So we always get, so in total, I did, I think, 7 years of study
Hmm.
and then teaching 23. But how many hours are that? I don't know.
More than 200 for sure.
Oh, more than 500.
So you're like a yoga karaya in that sense. If you look at it, it's like 2,500 hours you have under your
For
belt,
sure.
for sure.
Well, I'm now 27 years.
So you can say, I'm a yoga karaya.
But I don't call myself senior teacher because I didn't do those exams. I
Mm.
still say I'm a junior too, but I don't even say that. You know,
Does it matter, actually, these kind of credentials?
in the Iyengar yoga world, yes.
In Iyengar yoga is important.
Yes, and they're very strict. You cannot teach
Was it really
Iyengar.
through Iyengar's legacy, that
Yeah.
kind of strictness? That he wanted that kind of...
Well, he has a very specific way of teaching with all the blocks and belts, and
Right, yeah.
and he is a very. I heard something very beautiful from. There's a senior teacher, and he said, actually, we call it Iyengar yoga, but BKS Iyengar was not really like, why my name? He is really he teaches Patanjali yoga.
Yeah,
yoga.
from the sutras.
From the
basically.
sutras,
Yeah.
and he's really devoted to the sutras.
Cool.
And but
Nice.
yeah,
Sutras are great. If anyone wants to, it's such a
so and
piece
he's
of philosophy.
really teaching from the sutras from Patanjali. But asana, he said, yeah, the first alignment. You know, if you want to have an alignment with Brahman or God, or the first alignment starts in the body. So he has a very specific way of teaching, and that became his Iyengar legacy.
Okay.
And all the Iyengar teachers teach in the way. So if I come, I went to Denmark, I went to everywhere you come in a Iyengar yoga studio, even though you don't understand the language, you know, it's exactly the same teaching everywhere. They're very strict in it, the whole world. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Because it's very transparent, very clear. But yeah, some people say it's very tough and very much dogmatic and hard and on the very much on the physical part. But I think no, it's if you really do for a long time Iyengar, it's you can meditate in the poses. He takes all the Ashtanga in a pose.
Yeah. It's
very technical.
No, I love it. I mean, I read Light on Yoga from him.
One is our Bible.
It's of course the gospel. Exactly. And I really like what he says about the downfall of every yogi is pride. I really like it because
the ego
of just look at me, what I can do. Look at this. Look, I can touch my toes. You can barely clean your butt.
Yeah,
you
become like sometimes so powerful if you have access to a lot of layers. And it's also standing in the sutras, your ego can grow. Don't take advantage of this. If the ego grows, go become humble again.
Yeah.
Although you grow and grow and grow, and you have, you really touch all the layers. I don't know. I don't have the good words for it, but there's really specifically also written in the sutras, be careful of ego growth. Go back to this humbleness.
Yeah, it's the humility. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Why do you think that this phenomena happens of, let's say, Eastern philosophers or yogis that come to the West and they get corrupted completely?
I have no idea. What I
like
think
Osho,
about
for
it,
instance, like why do you think that happens?
I had my thoughts about it. I was thinking about why does this happen? But
I mean, look at Osho, you know, he came
I
and he had like
understand.
100 Rolls Royces.
Can you
and
imagine if the whole world puts you on a pedestal?
Yeah,
Can you imagine what happens? How this is something I think is very human. That if all the time you get lifted up, and you're the one. I can imagine that at one point you think
you are the one.
you are the one.
Yeah.
That is really a belief. You are the one.
Yeah.
And yeah, but you know, this is not in me. but I always question that. I'm like, what happened?
Yeah, because it makes me think, now that we talk, it makes me think about the fact that would Patanjali be happy with the amount of success that his sutras got? You're going to say it's very metaphysical.
I think Patanjali, thinking, eh? I have no idea what. I think Patanjali would not even think of. Oh, I'm happy that it goes out. Like
Yeah,
this.
that's what I mean. Yeah.
This was a tool to come back to your essence and be aligned with Brahman, Shiva, Vishnu. You know, that it's not about being separated and you are the one. No, we're all one, coming from. You know, we're all a part of.
Yeah. It's the illusion of separation. Yeah.
So I do. If we talk about that, okay, if you put on a pedestal already, or you are the one, that means also you disconnect from
people.
From people.
Yeah. Hierarchy.
And what does disconnection do?
Mm.
Are you still connected with people, or do you think you're not connected anymore?
Or do you think you're not human anymore? And I think
Did
that's
Osho
the danger.
think he was not human? There are many, eh?
I think that he was. I think that he was who?
You know, Joao de Deus.
Sure.
All these
Not
prophets who
you.
think I'm God, I'm Jesus. I'm like, what?
But look, it worked for Jesus.
Yeah.
It worked for him.
Yeah.
You see, he went around, I am the Son of God. I'm the Son of God. And then 2,000 years later, look at us. Facebook.
You know, yeah. Sometimes I'm like, you know, also in therapy, or you know, in the mental health,
industry.
Some people who are in psychosis think they are someone else. You know. Yeah.
Listen, you
Let's
gotta
not go there.
Listen. You need to go to Jerusalem, because we have every 2 weeks some crazy person with the Jerusalem syndrome that they get flipped in America or Germany or whatever it is, and they think they need to go to Israel and they need to liberate everybody. And it's called the Jerusalem syndrome. Oh. So you walk every 2 weeks, you walk in the street and you see some crazy person yelling, I am your Lord and Savior. And I'm like, oh, okay, it's you now. It's you this week. Okay. Yeah. Really, they're convinced that they are the second coming of Christ. It's called the Jerusalem syndrome.
I didn't know.
Yeah. It's a real thing. It's a real thing. Check it. It's really interesting, because these people are convinced that they are the reincarnation of Christ or one of the apostles, it doesn't matter, like a saint. And they go and they try to make a following. They try to go in the footsteps of Jesus. And I spoke to a few of them. It just, at some point, it's like there's no person. You know, you talk to them and it's just talking points and Bible.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah. The Jerusalem
syndrome.
Yeah. I have to look it up.
It's a very interesting syndrome. Yeah.
And do the scientists, or do they say something about the psychologists? No?
Man, come on.
Do they say
there's enough problems in this country. You
think
they care about Jerusalem syndrome?
Yeah.
It's like
people have.
Can you imagine? Just hostages, people being slaughtered. Today we need to talk about the Jerusalem syndrome. There was some crazy 55-year-old walking down Yafo Boulevard in Israel, in Jerusalem, yelling, what are we going to do about it?
Oh, no.
That's not going to happen.
No.
Did you just finish your master's, right?
Yeah, I still need to get my grade, but I do think, yeah, I just finished 4 years of psychodynamic therapy.
Psychedelic
Yes.
therapy. What was your research about?
Oh, transgenerational trauma
You should talk to
in
my
the
family. Whoa.
third generation Indonesian Indo. So
Wow.
my grandmother, she's from Surabaya and Indonesian, and that war has a lot of impact, of course, on the people itself, but also generations later.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Oh, yeah, of course.
yeah.
Yeah, I
So
know it.
yes, are you your third generation?
I'm second generation to first generation immigrants.
Yes. So you're the second generation migrant.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
You can
and
look at it like that. Yeah,
and I'm third generation from the moment when the Bersiap started and soevereiniteit.
Sovereignty. Yeah,
Sovereignty, yeah.
yeah.
And it was a massacre there, and this trauma, um, yeah, is getting stuck. And talking about trauma was back in the days was not common. So systemically also, it goes from generation to generation. That what is not solved, the
Yeah.
pain, the grief, the hurt, um, the emotional silence goes from generation to generation. And that was my thesis was about that. Very.
Did you experience that up close with your own family tree?
Yes. So I'm the third generation, and yeah, coming back to what happened with me on the dance academy, and my problems. Hey, and then in therapy, learning, but you know what they always said. Oh, how is the relationship in your family? How is it with your mother? How is it? So all the time, I came back to okay, something happened back there in Indonesia and with my grandmother and then with my mother and with me, and it has a huge effect.
Yeah.
Yeah, huge.
How did it manifest? What was the manifestation of it?
So in general, in third generation, identity crisis, because as the in yeah voormalig Nederlands-Indië is colonized.
Former Dutch India.
Former
Dutch Indian.
yeah,
Yeah, it was
Dutch
colonized.
India,
Yeah.
and it's colonized for 350 years. So the Indonesian people, they had to adapt. And
350 years. I didn't know that.
350 years slavery. You have to adapt. You have to become Dutch. So all what was Indonesia had to be somehow put in the back. That's already a trauma, collective trauma.
Yeah.
And then World War II, Japanese came in. Then Dutch say, I want to have it back, coming back to it. And again, trauma. So there's a lot of trauma. And in the third generation, it becomes more identity, because silence of trauma is very big. They call it the conspiracy of silence. Trauma happens somewhere in the brain where there are not really words for it. It's so huge, war and violence, and then afterwards, how do you deal with that? What happened to you? How do you give it to your children? Rather not, but the pain and the hurt is still there. But a child feels it.
Yeah.
So this emotional distance is huge for a kid growing up. Usually at the second generation, there's this we had emotionally absent parents. We didn't learn how to regulate our emotions, and absent parents can be quite how you say, it's quite an impact on a young kid and when you're growing up. So that happened actually with the second generation in many forms.
I had very absent parents. Very.
So it has a huge effect. And then how...
I mean, he would say differently, my dad. He thinks he's the best father in the world, but
yeah,
it's a
so
different
it's a
type of
different
narcissism. Yeah.
perspective from every generation, because
Yeah.
a parent, I can imagine that my grandparents say, this what we experienced, we don't want to give it to our kids. And that what happened, we don't want to talk about it, we have to move on.
Yeah.
And we have to become as Dutch as possible. So this is
Wow. So that's
very intense.
yeah. So there was like a complete denial of what you went, not what you went through, but what the parents went through, and then complete denial of identity at the same time.
Yes, because also the Indonesian people who came from, actually they call it India, and now it's called Indonesia, but they come in Holland, and World War II happened, and oh, thank you. And then they were not even welcomed, but they say, yeah, but we are Dutch as well, because they had to become as Dutch as possible, but still had color, you know?
Yeah.
And then you come to Holland and they're like, okay, we just had war, there's nothing here. And at least you had, we had the cold winters, at least it was hot there, And so this huge trauma, there was not even space.
Yeah.
There was nobody could even,
Wow.
welcome them and say, you're welcome here. No, they were not welcome. Their trauma, it's not been talked about. It's not even in the history books. It's terrible.
That's something I was surprised when I got here.
Terrible.
Then when I was hanging out with a history teacher, actually. He started telling me about the history of the Netherlands.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, cool. And then all of a sudden, this whole bloodbath, slavery, human trafficking is not even in the conversation. And I was like, the VOC was one of the most profitable companies in history.
And how violent.
Apple, just for you to understand, sorry, Microsoft is, the market cap is 4 trillion. That's the market cap of Microsoft. For VOC, it was 17 trillion.
Can you imagine? In that time.
In that time, yeah. So I'm saying...
They took everything.
They took everything, and all of it and some more, and they had free labor. That's something to,
And it's not being mentioned.
Yeah.
And
it's really sanitized. It's very sanitized.
Yeah, so that's becoming, in the last years, they apologize and it has to come back. But can you imagine, for me, I had an Indonesian grandmother, but, you feel that, oh, my grandmother was always very silent, and we didn't speak about her, where she is coming from, or we had the food. Yes, but there was much more. And then, in the third generation, identity. So, but am I part Indonesian or not? No, I'm completely Dutch. Well, some third generation, they really, dark skin, they look beautiful, Indonesian. Yeah. But who am I? That's the question. Who am I? What is in me? What I didn't hear of, I didn't experience, it's never been talked about. It's in die zwijgen, it's called.
Yeah, the silence, yeah.
The silence, yeah. And actually, in my thesis, I also found out that trauma, and especially collective trauma, if a whole country went through colonization or war and violence, it's a collective, it's silence. You don't want to talk about it.
Did you think? I mean, it's not a political question. I'm just, because of what you're doing. Did you think of visiting Israel and Gaza in that sense? Because that's happening right now. Everything you're talking about.
All therapists are really busy with. Okay, we need to stand there with open arms, because from generation to generation to generation, there's a lot has not been solved.
Look, I can tell you, I grew up during the second Intifada, which was like 4 buses to 7 buses, or shootings happening in Jerusalem.
Yeah.
To a point that I was afraid of buses. Can you imagine?
I can imagine.
I was seeing a bus and I was like, don't blow up, you know?
Gosh.
And I was myself, I was in one terror attack that happened. Like I drove into an intersection and I saw just a tractor running over people, and I was with my sister and her baby in the car. And it's a funny story because, well, it's not that funny, but I mean, you know, everybody was dying.
I'm laughing now, but it's
It's okay.
but
No,
wow.
so I remember like going into the intersection and then seeing a car just being flipped in the air with a tractor, and then someone running towards me saying like, "Mechabel, mechabel pigua." Mechabel pigua means like terrorist. There's a terror attack, you know. And the thing that happened with me is that everything just became slower, and I knew exactly where I needed to go. I was like completely calm. My sister lost it, like this, you know, and her daughter was just like, "What is going on?" She was a baby. And talking about trauma is that we parked the car somewhere, and I was like ready. You know, I didn't have a weapon back then. I didn't have anything to this, but like my instinct was just like, you have to go there and neutralize the situation. And then I saw like a soldier ran next to me, and he was like, "I got it," you know, and he just ran. He took him out. And then when I told, we have like family history with like army and military and all that stuff, and my dad was just saying, "You could have been special forces, you know. It's like the way that you handled the situation was, you could have been an officer in the Navy or like these, you know, these kill squads." And I was like, yeah, that's the culture. It's not, oh my God, what you went through and what this. It's more, you could have, oh, you know what? You showed complete calmness, and you composed yourself, and you acted in a way that a special forces soldier would react. And I was
So
like,
you're the because this happening, you come in fight, flight, or freeze.
yeah, exactly.
So
And I was in fight.
yeah.
Yeah.
So and your sister
Flight.
yeah,
Yeah. Completely flight.
but it does a lot to the system.
Yeah.
A lot to the system, and it gets stored in the body.
Yeah, and then what happened is that I had a girlfriend back then, and I knew that the terrorists went through that street and took out basically people, like ran over them. And I knew that she was supposed to be around there. And I started calling. And then the panic starts hitting. She doesn't answer, she doesn't answer. And it's like, this is the thing that, let's say the majority of people coming from Jerusalem experience that on a regular basis of, there is a terror attack, it hits you, and then you start the calls. And the person that doesn't answer, you know that they're dead. They're either dead or absent. And it's like a normal pattern that happened every few weeks. It was just like, okay.
And you can, and see, you can talk about it now.
I can talk about it because I left.
I never, ever experienced this. And I can imagine I could, you know, if I would
I can tell
talk about this, I would start
stories.
to shake. I think like, because this is about life and death.
But then if you look at like the transgenerational trauma, if I look at what my dad had to do to go through the stuff that he had to go through, like in his service and the stuff that he did for the country, and it was obvious that it's in us to become these Jason Bourne or, you know, this machine that would do it. At the same time, from a very young age, I just didn't want to be associated with that anymore. So you telling me your story, it just kind of brings up in me that fact of, I just wanted to become a chameleon, you know? I didn't want to be associated with the state of Israel anymore. I didn't want to be associated with my Judaism. I didn't want to be associated with anything. I just wanted to be me. I worked on my Dutch, I worked on my English and this, and I tried to just fit myself, embed myself in communities or, let's say, that were counter to what I knew.
Yeah.
And it only amplified it. That's the funny part.
Yeah, because and that my thesis also about that. So you don't want that part of you, but it is a part of you.
You push it to the shadow.
Yeah, and so how can you honor that part in you and see, okay, the shadow side of it, but also the qualities of it. And how can you, like, I have Dutch and Indonesian part, and both parts in me have a different kind of quality and have different kind of shadow.
Yeah.
And oh, hello. And that's also about, coming back to this identity. Who are you? How are you when you're complete or whole?
Yeah.
And also this generational trauma. Yeah, how can you, because it's so collective, what can you do inside of you to bring that to your identity? And I think that's healing, because if you, of me as a third generation, said, okay, I am ready, I have a bit more distance from me. I hear you are still quite in it, but me, I have quite a distance from what happened to my grandmother. So I can look at it and I say, okay, but this part in me and this part in me, they are me.
Yeah.
And what are the qualities?
Yeah.
And this is my identity. I dare to identify with that country. How does it feel inside of me? How do I move when when I'm in that part or that? It's interesting.
Right. And did you think of writing all this in a book, or because it's I'm sure a lot of people would see themselves in it more than what you think.
Well, I wrote my thesis and I thought, I always started, I started dancing because words for me, I cannot grasp. Cannot grasp how
I was just about to ask you about this. It's
feel.
the importance of let's say metaphors or abstract concepts through art, movement, all that stuff.
I think that's so important.
Yeah, it's so important for also for releasing trauma.
Rituals.
Yeah.
And feel, really feeling, rituals, metaphors. It's, there. I had a lot of talks also with family constellation, people who do the Indonesian family constellation, therapists, like, oh, it's not only about words, because it's a different part of the brain, but it's about feeling it again, embody it, bring back rituals from Indonesian rituals,
Right.
animisme, what was not allowed anymore, bring it back, because energetically it's still there. It's still a part of me, still a part of my grandmother, who was completely Dutch and loves boerenkool met worst, but there's still this part which you cannot wipe out, what happened in colonization.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And did you ever, what is your thought about psychedelic therapy, using psychedelics? I'm not talking like off the street.
I'm totally for it.
I'm not talking off the street.
No, I know, but I'm totally...
Like ayahuasca, for instance, MDMA controlled
Yeah,
group,
this
ketamine.
also very interesting, ayahuasca. So in Brainspotting, because we say, trust the self-healing process of your system. And ayahuasca is still, from outside, you break in, and from outside, you want your brain to open up to experience some. So say, oh, I do. I sometimes microdose. I find it fantastic.
Mushrooms or LSD?
Yeah,
Okay.
psilocybine.
Yeah, psilocybin. Yeah.
And it's great for concentration, and it's great for quietness. But there are, so in Brainspotting, I do understand that, if you have this amount of outside influence, you still try to guide your brain, and you don't trust your self-healing process if you're in the trajectory or inner journey. But I still think a lot of great things are being done by, microdosing or working with...
Yeah, especially for PTSD, I think.
PTSD, but also with severe traumas, which are, totally blanked out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I heard they're now also doing with the LSD, but also ketamine. But you know, on the
Exactly.
small dose,
Yeah.
and to have that I see this crack of light, so
Yeah.
you can work.
I'm a big supporter of LSD in that sense. I mean, we took some LSD and we painted the whole fence. So, you know.
So how much LSD? Did you take it for fun, or was it for
It
inner
was
journey
for the
with a
inner
therapist?
journey and the spirituality of the festival we were in.
Beautiful.
Exactly. No, actually, I was, to be honest, I listened to a podcast from Norman Ohler about. He wrote a book called Blitzed about Nazi Germany and the drug
Yeah.
use in Nazi Germany, which was insane. The whole Blitzkrieg, the
Was
whole
on drugs.
it was just crystal meth.
Oh shit.
It was just crystal meth. It wasn't something. It wasn't the Aryan spirit. It was crystal meth. It's like has nothing to do with we are, superior species. It's like, dude, you're a junkie.
Yeah.
It's like, come on.
Below.
It's like,
Below.
yeah, exactly. It's a crazy book, and he was talking about LSD also, and then we got a bit, and we did it, and.
You loved
I forget.
it.
Yeah, I mean, I did it. That's the thing, that it's really that point of abuse and that point of really, and that has to do with age and experience. Because I had in my early 20s, I would abuse psychedelics, and I didn't really get because there was no ground, there was no guidance. I was in New York, I was doing whatever I wanted, and then now that I'm older and like different responsibilities, it's just a different point of life in life. I just see it differently. I perceive it differently, and I see also the impact that arts has, and also psychedelics have, on giving a frame to things that cannot be verbally expressed, because it's very, this agent of language is quite limited.
Did you find words for that? Because all the time I'm like, I cannot even find words for if I'm on stage or if I create this deep feeling. I didn't even find words for it. If I move, for me it's much more clear than finding words to explain how I feel.
I guess I'm chasing samadhi always, just chasing that like feeling of this is the only thing that happens now, that my brain is just a little less active and I can like steal the mind. It's like the first sutra, Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha.
Yoga Chitta Vritti, it stills
exactly.
the mind. Yeah.
Yoga is there to still the fluctuations of the mind. Yeah, exactly. So it's to get to that point, and I remember just a few moments on stage that I had it, and it's like that's why I'm doing it. And
becoming whole, I call it home. Yeah. If I'm there, it feels like home. I don't know how else to describe it. But also coming back to this using substance to go deeper, especially in therapy or especially working with trauma, I think it's very important that there is someone, a therapist or psychologist, psychiatrist, who is there to keep the safe space or keep the ground if it cracks open.
Yeah.
Because they say it's not about when trauma happens to you, it's what happens after. And usually the loneliness or being alone, dealing with these feelings is more traumatic.
Yeah.
So that's why, if you open that with substance, it's very wise. If you work, if you want to solve trauma, it's very wise that someone is there to say, I'm there for you.
Yeah.
You can go. You don't have to do this alone.
I felt that with ayahuasca, I have to say. I felt that. It's like when...
I guess there was a shaman with...
Yeah, no, for sure. There was. I mean, it was a beautiful experience. The first experience was kind of like, was in a group and we all, and which was just exactly from all holes possible. It's absolutely disgusting.
I didn't expect this. Yeah.
And then the second experience was at our home, just the two of us. with Modlon and Mauro, the shaman. And that was a completely different experience. I mean, there was just the two of us, and then they call her Mother Ayahuasca, but actually she did, I was, yeah, let's see, people talk about her visiting you and this, let's see. And she did. She just appeared in front of me. She came into the room, she appeared, and she gave me two options. She told me, either you're going to let me lead the way, and you're going to trust me that we're going to do the ceremony in my way, or you're going to try and control everything like you always do and try to just direct everything your
I want
way.
to go to Samadhi, please.
Huh?
I control going to Samadhi.
Exactly. I need to go into Samadhi.
There.
Yes, exactly. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on, I have some stuff to do.
Yeah.
And it's that, yeah. And then and then I asked her, how is it going to be? And then she showed me how it's going to be with her. And she just stayed the same, that her leading the way. And then she showed me how it's going to be with me controlling. And it was just vomiting and fighting and just struggling. And
You saw that in
I
your
saw her turning into a
journey.
monster.
Oh.
Like she was just turning into a monster. She said, this is what is waiting for you. And I was like, okay, maybe not this. Ugh. And then I took the other path with her, the former.
Are you talking about your ayahuasca journey?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
It was all just happening. It was like a movie to see it, And
I still want to do ayahuasca. Let's go.
Control freak. Oh, you're gonna vomit, man.
Doesn't matter. Vomit.
No, and then funny enough, nothing. Then I didn't vomit, and then nothing happened. But it was just she showed me a bunch of stuff about my family, about how I handle my son, the new relationship we just started dating. It was in 2018, right? That we did with Maro, yeah. And then at the end, she told me something very, very interesting, because she like shift changes constantly. She was like this tree, and then she was a little fairy, and she took me and we have this big green wall in our home, and I just saw the entire movie happening in front of me, like.
Wow.
And I was asking her about money and what's gonna happen.
Show me the money.
Exactly, show me the money, and then Tom Cruise, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then she told me at the end, she said, you don't have to call me anymore. This is not for you, this path. You have other things that you need to do in your life, but I'm always with you. And then she went into my stomach, and then I was sober. And then it was like, wow, I'm like, I don't know what happened, And then when I called her 2 years later, when I drank again, she was like, why are you doing this?
Yeah. Leave me alone.
Yeah, why are you doing this? And then it was with a group of people. Everybody was throwing up, shitting their pants. Someone was like singing Indian. I was annoyed. Someone was singing Indian mantras, and I was like, this has nothing to do with this tradition. I was just so annoyed at some point. I was just sitting there like, can you shut the up? Just diarrhea and regret.
So
So tell me.
it is, yeah.
That could be a nice merch, diarrhea and regret.
The diarrhea, vomit, and regret. But it's interesting. So, what makes you do so many travels?
Diarrhea and regret.
Yeah, why? Yeah, you like?
No.
It's becoming addiction.
No, ayahuasca I did 3 times, but psychedelics, I mean, I have a lot more respect to it now. When I was like, my beginning 20s, woohoo, let's go,
Yeah.
But now it's completely different. No. Now it's, I have way more respect for it, and also the ceremonial aspect of it is important, because then it just becomes a
Because
tool
that's
of
actually
abuse.
ayahuasca, and I also, because actually it started with a shaman taking the ayahuasca
Exactly.
and connecting with the spirits and then telling
Exactly.
you, and now it became the shaman not taking
Yeah.
it and the people taking it.
Yeah.
And that's also, I find it interesting.
It became an industry also. It
Yeah.
became a big industry.
So, and if I may ask you,
Yeah.
what are you, maybe chasing is not the right word, but what
Yeah.
do you want to achieve taking ayahuasca? Is it for samadhi? I want to reach samadhi, or you want to have questions
I think
about life
yeah.
answered? Is it about deep trust? So
I think it's similar to maybe your experience, what just happened now, that you were like, oh, I want to do ayahuasca. It's this curiosity behind it.
yeah,
Because also a lot of people that I know did it and were speaking about with reverence, that I was thinking, I want to see what it is. I want to try it. And I did the research before that. And it has to do a lot with the community, the people that I was surrounded by, that were talking about it in the way, like I said, that just made it, I was just curious about it. Nonetheless, it's really an individual thing. There is nothing that compares to outer body experiences that are done by just meditating a lot, practicing actually. It's a little bit these type of experiences. You see a mountain and you know the climbing, it will take you very long time to do that.
and a lot of practice.
A lot of practice and sacrifice.
Yeah.
And ayahuasca and these type of substances, it's like a little helicopter that will just take you there, show you that, but it will bring you down.
Yeah.
It has to bring you down to reality. And that is something that, if, at least for me, if I'm not aware of that, then it becomes just a tool of distraction.
Yeah, I saw, I don't know what the names, I'm never good in names, but I saw this, it was on YouTube. And there's this lady, and she's talking about the sustainability of reaching bliss or reaching through substance.
Right.
And she said, you know, it is much more sustainable to, climbing that mountain and start zero on the ground, practicing how to hold the rocks. If you, to meditate or to really become one with you without substance and work towards that moment of bliss, instead of, bam, it's you get hit by it because you took some substance, and somewhere your system also has to deal with that.
Yeah.
Whoa! Was your system ready to digest all the information you get from spirits outside, or however you want to call it?
Yeah.
I find it beautiful to see. Oh, I'm interested in the one, but it's fast.
Yeah.
Or do you really have the discipline and really to go, every cell in your body knows, now I'm ready to open up and to experience bliss.
Yeah, I was talking about, it's funny because I was talking about with students, and it happens, they see me on stage, they want to play like me, whatever, some sort of delusion, which is okay, it brings you into this path. And then I asked them something, like they see me play and they're like, wow, it looks so easy, whatever, And I'm like, how would you feel if you woke up tomorrow and you can play like me? You just woke up in the morning and you have the same amount of skill. Say, oh, wow, I don't know if I would be so grateful for that. Because there was no time invested. There was no sacrifice that was integral to this triumph, to this achievement, And that is a very important aspect to remember. There are, like, for instance, if I look at my playing, there are things that are just factual. It becomes a fact. I can play in a specific way. I can.
Yeah, but how long? From what age did you practice? How much effort did you put in your effortlessness at the moment?
At the same time, then we just recorded my solo album. Joao was also there, and I'm like,
Beautiful
wow.
spot, by the way.
But I need, like, man, I need to practice so much. Like, I know nothing. Can you imagine after 20 plus years of doing it, I'm just sitting at the piano like, man, I need lessons. Like, I need to work on on everything, because it's a lifelong journey. It's also a lifelong journey in the sense of, it's not that you will arrive. You know, we have these funny rituals with humans. We give trophies to each other, you know, to just feel like you did good. Here's a
Yeah.
Grammy.
Yeah,
You know?
there you go.
Here you go. It's an Oscar. You did good.
Yeah,
You know, but then next year it's like, it's not relevant.
yeah,
It's like, what is your next work? You know,
yeah,
back on the
yeah,
grind,
yeah,
doing it. You know, pushing. Don't think like it doesn't matter. Oh, you did this 5 years ago. All right.
yeah,
And then I think that this is something that a lot of artists, or let's say high achieving, or people that deal with performances, it's not going to make you feel different. You're going to feel the same. Like achieving and being successful and having like a, you know, high-fiving with your peers because you're so great is not going to change the fundamental problem that you have in your life. That's
No.
not,
no,
that's my
no.
opinion about it. Some
Yeah.
people think if I have a ton of money, it's going to solve everything, or if I have a bunch of awards and
Oh no, no, no. Yeah, it's interesting because last year I got nominated for the Young Swan, and that's it's really great for a dancer to be nominated. And I was like, what? I am 48 and now I get nominated, and I wanted it back then, like a long time ago, and it was with Scapino and Cecilia, this piece we did, and I when they called me, I just couldn't. I had to laugh. I had to laugh so loud. I'm like, what? Nominated for what? And but I didn't get it. I didn't won. But for me, it was like, oh, interesting. That for me at this age, that doesn't. For me, it doesn't matter anymore. It's I'm so.
but there's a difference between you being 48 and a 20-year-old
Well,
student.
the 20-year-old won.
No, but
My daughter was very pissed. No,
but I
but
mean in the sense of you see the joke and the humor in it also, right? You see the
Yes.
come on.
yeah, and but also I thought, oh yeah, I really worked.
And the
I
importance.
really worked very hard, and I did so much, and I'm still here. I'm still here for a dancer. I'm like a dinosaur, I always say. So I was like, okay, for me, for myself, the appreciation, like, oh, wow, I did a lot. And I still enjoy to the max what I'm doing with Jacob. I love it. And I still want to, you know, I still have to learn. I
Yeah.
still have to practice because I love it.
Yeah.
I just love it.
Yeah.
Everything what still comes up,
Yeah.
I love it.
And the age thing, that has to do mainly with just mobility and recovery. That becomes
Yeah,
like
at one point, yeah. So when Cecilia asked me for, oh, there's a project with Scapino Ballet. Wow, when I was 17, I'm like, wow, that's great. And now this project, oh, and then you feel, oh, this is really dance again. And I thought, oh, now I do feel that this is for my age. In some parts, I don't feel I belong here. This is not what I want anymore. This is not what my body wants. All this training, it's not what I need at this level.
Yeah.
It was interesting to step back and say, oh,
Yeah. But that's the thing with Jacob. It's so different.
I
It's
love it.
Jacob
And
is
very
such a
demanding as well.
genius. Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
on all levels.
Yeah.
You know, it looks very simple, but you have to practice.
I don't know. To me, it didn't look simple at all.
No?
Of
Oh
it,
yeah,
no.
sometimes I'm like, yeah, because then we're only like this.
Yeah,
and
but the timing
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
it's like, again, you gotta go and see his work. It's so good.
Yes.
It's so
You
good.
have to.
I've seen most of his work. That's the thing. I saw only
Yeah.
one in the theater, which is horror, but then I saw all the other films.
Yay.
I did like the research, but it's just he's a different. But also, I mean, go and listen to the podcast. He just had such a different path.
Yeah.
It wasn't that I'm gonna make Jacob Olboom company and this. It kind of manifested that this visionary genius needs to
Yeah.
bring his art out to the world,
Yeah.
and then things just fall into place, and so he can create it and
Yeah.
create this community around him. You know.
Yeah.
So
It's wonderful to work with him.
yeah, I could just imagine. You know.
So then we're now also busy with the We Don't Live Here Anymore.
Yeah.
It's coming from a movie, and then you notice, wow, on many levels, it's demanding, but great.
Yeah.
Great to...
I need to call him. I need to call him and ask him
Call
for it.
him.
Yeah, no, I need to call him now because I want to come to a rehearsal and just see him work. It's like so.
On September we start. And
Yeah?
yeah,
I'm gonna come in.
And also another big one. Yeah.
Yeah, because also I'm as someone who has been in leadership positions. It's always, what is your style of leadership? How do you communicate your vision to people so they feel that they're also part of this creation and that they're not being subservient to just do what I tell you.
Yeah.
That subtle, like creating together, and at the same time, yeah, he is, he's Jacob at the end. It's his name and his credentials.
That's what I like. So we create together.
Yeah.
But I am the one who is like making it fine.
Yeah. Do you experience some imposter syndrome also?
Me?
Yeah.
No.
No?
No.
Wow, you're so lucky.
No.
Most artists, they experience a lot of imposter syndrome.
No. No, I just love what I do, and if that is being used in a performance or on stage, I'm like, this is heaven.
Wow, nice.
But
nice.
imposter syndrome, no. I've heard a lot about it, but I have a lot of syndromes, but not that one. Oh, I'm happy about that.
I'm broken, but not everywhere.
Yeah, so broken, glued together. But that one, oh.
That one, look, my hand is whole.
Yeah.
Man, it was great, really great having you here, Gwen.
Thank
I think
you.
we spoke for an hour and 40 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, went by quick, huh?
Yeah, and I'm also surprised that we talked about so many layers.
I told you, that's why when you ask me, what are we going to talk about? What are you going to ask me? What is this?
Gosh.
What is your BSN? What is your bank account? What is? What did you think I'm going to
You can know everything except my PIN, huh?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Gwen, again, thank you so much for joining. And
we're still on air?
Yeah, we're still on air. I mean, if you want to, do you want to plug something? This is going to come out in 5 weeks.
Yeah, I know.
You know
I know the guy who is.
You know the schedule, yeah.
I'm gonna give him a kiss and say, like, "What? Let me watch."
Exactly. Well, if he sends it to me today, I can already mix it. So.
Oh yeah, no, I look
But tell
forward
me,
to
is
it.
Is there something you want to promote, plug, tell people something to this camera?
So you can see me as a dancer. You can see me as a therapist if you want to go on an inner journey. No, I don't know. This can be cut off.
Oh, no.
And
we don't cut anything.
No.
Except when I trashed the industry. Yeah. I was saying some
No,
horrible stuff last podcast.
You?
About reviewers and journalists. I have to cut it out. Yeah. You are all wonderful and we all love you.
What?
I'll tell you later.
Tell me later. Like, no, I have nothing to.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you again, Gwen, for joining us.
Thank you.
Joao, that is not here, thank you for being the producer. And Joshua for all the socials. And my beautiful woman here, Madeleine, that she's just sitting and watching us.
Yeah, what?
And Mia, that is going to be
the next one, eh?
in 2, actually, because Lara is coming.
Oh, wow. You're going to sit here. It's out nu, eh?
Yeah, it was nice. Huh?
No, it's
don't
out,
worry,
toch?
don't worry about it. Huh? No, we're not. Yeah, okay. No, I need to, I have to say the outro. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us here and Into the Score. Please follow us, like, subscribe, all the stuff that you're being asked by 20,000 other YouTube channels and Spotify channels. You know how it works? If you follow us, I feel validated. So do that. And we're going to see you at the gig or the dance studio or the clinic. Bye-bye. That's it.
Wow, what happened?
An interview happened.
That was deep.
Yeah, I'm like, wow, where are we
Kind of like
going?
when you said everything you said was like, okay, fine.
This was a
No,
preparation.
no, just like everything you said about what you like, you know, and I was just going through, like, I think I might need to see you.
Yeah, we're building a community. We're building a
But I
community.
didn't even know we
That
talked
was
about.
beautiful.
I'm like, I'm a dancer. I work with